When you see profit breakdowns for flips, do you ever wonder how much time they actually spend on the flip? Well, today I'm going to show you. I'm Lisa with Ivy Lane Interiors, and today's project is this campaign dresser. I picked it up at auction for about $100, and I'm going to use my secret method for a gentle restoration, and then I'm going to time myself on every single step. I'm going to give you a full breakdown at the end and how much profit I actually made. Let's go.
So this piece is a really good candidate for a gentle restoration. And I'm using General Finish's protocol for toning. And basically what you're doing is you're putting gel stain over an existing finish. So the protocol is you clean it with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water, and you give it a good scuff sand. They recommend 180, but I usually start at 220 because I don't want to sand off any of the finish. I don't want to go down too deep. Obviously on this piece you can see I do have a few areas that I am going to have to do some repair on, so I'll have to fill in some veneer. I'll have to do some color blending after everything is corrected, and then I will put on some gel stain and then I'll reseal it. So you're basically just refreshing your existing finish. So I'm going to go ahead and time myself, like I said, on this wouldn't be considered a full restoration. So this would be kind of a faster one. But obviously it has a lot of hardware. So I have to take off all of the hardware. I have actually seen people paint over this hardware, believe it or not. I'm just going to use my 5-in-1 tool. I'm going to gently go underneath there, pry out those little pins that are holding it on. And then I will go ahead and clean all the hardware, polish it up. So like I said, with a scuff sand, I like to start about 220. So I like to get the underside, just give everything a really nice sand. Some of the areas I do go down to about 180. So it just depends on the piece and the area that you're sanding. So basically you're just knocking off any of the shine. You're just dulling up the surface so that it can accept the gel stain. After everything has been scuff sanded, I'm going to wipe it off with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water. And that's going to just get off any additional contaminants that might be on the finish that I can't see, but it's going to just really help that gel stain go on smoothly. Now I'm ready to make some repairs. I'm going to have some areas that I'm going to use Quickwood. It's an epoxy, 2-part epoxy, 1 part putty, 1 part hardener. You cut off the amount that you want, knead it together for about a minute until it's uniform color, and then you can just apply it to your piece. I have a few areas on the recessed plinth that I'm going to fill in, and then I will go on to some other areas. The veneer on both sides were lifting. So as I was repairing the base, I was like, oh, the whole thing is coming off. I just used my putty knife and gently went under until it wouldn't come up anymore. And so one of the sides, it was almost all the way up to the top. So I just re-glued it, taped it down, and now it's secure. The Dixie Campaigner series is a really popular style, but it's actually particle board covered with a beautiful veneer. And so you invariably have problems at the base. And so you can see here at the bottom, I had some loose veneer. So I'm going to glue it up, and then I'm going to come back with that quick wood and I'm going to recreate that corner. After everything is set up, after my repairs, I'm going to take all the clamps off. I'm going to sand everything down. So I want to make sure that there's no glue that has come out of that area that I had to glue down. So I'm just going to make sure all that is sanded down. And then for the quickwood areas, I'm just going to try to sand those as smooth as I can. It really does take, the quickwood does take sanding really well. So you can kind of, like I said, you can recreate corners, you can recreate different things that you need to on the actual piece. And then you can either paint it, or in my case, I'm going to stain it. And then I'll also go back with some Blend-All sticks and blend it into the rest of the finish. So here you can see the particle board. I have glued it all up, and now I'm ready to recreate the corner. So I'm just going to put some of the quickwood on, and I'm going to put some painter's tape over it, clamp it up, and recreate that corner. So once all that's done, I'm ready to go ahead and start applying the gel stain. I'm using General Finishes Nutmeg. I find that the nutmeg is a really pretty color over an existing finish. It does have a bit of an orange to it, but it doesn't seem to have the orange when I'm putting it over an existing finish. So gel stain is really easy to apply. You just simply wipe it on, let it set for just a couple seconds, and then you just wipe off the excess. If you remember at the beginning, I had that area at the top where the finish was failing. So I did one coat of gel stain, and I'm just going to come back with a chip brush, and I'm going to add a little bit more gel stain just to kind of work it into that area. I love chip brushes with gel stain because it kind of mimics the wood grain. A lot of times I'll use one chip brush, kind of wipe off some of the excess on a rag, and then I'll come back with a dry chip brush and I'll work that into the finish. And it really does a great job of mimicking the wood grain. I've already soaked all the hardware in boiling water and vinegar, and so it makes it really easier to polish up once it's already had a soak. I'm going to use Barkeeper's Friend, and I'm going to use a very fine steel wool, and I'm just going to polish them up. Now I'm going to use some Mohawk Blend-All sticks to go around for the areas that I had to make some repairs. I'm just going to blend in those repairs to the finish around it. And then once I'm kind of happy with it, sometimes you have to do a couple rounds. So I'll do a round and then I'll spray it with a vinyl sealer, and that'll seal it. And then I can come back later on if I need to continue to do some touch-ups. Once everything is dry, I'm ready to go ahead and seal it. I'm using Osmo's Poly-X oil. It's a hard wax oil, very easy to apply. You simply wipe it on and you wipe off the excess. You can roll it on, you can put it on with a rag. You can see I'm using like a white little pad. It really holds a lot of it, so it puts it on really well. And then I'm just using a lint-free rag to take off the excess. I'll do 2 coats of the hard wax oil. I usually let it dry overnight, and then I do the second coat the next day. I'm going to apply a lacquer to my hardware. I'm cleaning it with a little bit of steel wool, and then I sprayed it, and then I realized, oh my goodness, there's all these little bits of steel wool all over the hardware that got caught in the lacquer. So I had to grab some lacquer thinner, clean it off again, and then I resprayed them. But I really love this spray because it is an anti-tarnish. And so I do love brass, but I like it in its polished state. And so this is kind of slows down the tarnish process, but I think it provides a really beautiful finish. Now it's time to reattach all of that hardware that we just worked on. I'm using a little tack hammer and my needle nose pliers, and I'm just going around and reattaching all of those small pieces. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my drawers. I like to clean the inside with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water. And then I'm just going to revive the finish with some Danish oil. So let's look back at the before. This was a pretty good little find. It was $126. I got it at auction. Obviously I know these always need to have some things done to them because, like I said, with it having particle board, but that veneer is so beautiful. But I just needed a little bit of help on it. It ended up being a really good candidate for a gentle restoration. I really love being able to just revive the finish. But after several repairs and a little refresh, here's the finished product. Isn't it beautiful? That brass really makes a big difference. I'm really loving the lacquer for the brass. I think it makes it shine even more, and I love that it's anti-tarnish. You can see the top there. I was able to end up getting that to blend in. There's no more failing finish. I had several little areas that I was able to repair and blend in with the blend all sticks. So really, overall, excellent. It's in excellent condition. All of the drawers go in and out smoothly. As far as structurally, it is in fantastic condition. So let's talk a little bit about the time that I spent. So I spent about 3 hours working on the piece. It sold for $7.50 on Etsy. After fees, I netted $6.76. I purchased it for $126. My supplies were $30, so my net profit was $5.20. If you divide that by 3 hours, it's $173 an hour. But what's not included is my driving time to pick it up, photography and staging, marketing, and coordinating shipping. So if you can source a piece that you know is highly desirable, do a gentle restoration, you're going to have a really good profit margin on it. So tell me in the comments, have you tried a gentle restoration? What do you think about this method of flipping? Tell me in the comments, and thanks so much for watching.